Yeah, that's not the life of an A&R. Like,
Nah,
it is.
yeah, exactly.
It is though.
Right. You right. I'm wrong. Go ahead.
Because I was going like, who's like the A&R for all y'all projects?
They was in similar situations.
Exactly. Because you got to be part of it.
Right.
Like if you in it, you in it. You can't just like,
right.
you know, we going out. What you gonna say? Nah, guys, I'm gonna just go home, take it. Like, nah, you going out too? It's training day.
Right. Because you with your artists. You know what I'm saying, of every aspect of their career, like the studio, the club. You know what I'm saying, with them. You know, witnessing their work from the studio to the club now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the club is one of the most important aspects, I believe, of an A&R, right? Because you go in there to, you know, see what's, you know, what people are reacting to, you know what I'm saying? Because the A&R is the front line. They have the ears, you know what I'm saying? Even more than the artists could have, you know what I mean? Because y'all help the artists.
Yeah. And you can have ears, but you also have to be outside because you have to spot trends. Yeah. Because music don't live in a vacuum. Like, I don't know who like played guitar on, you know, Intervisions or some shit, you know what I'm saying? But I can tell you like what people are wearing now, where the sound is going. That's like the A&R you have to really know. So it's more than just the music.
Right.
You gotta have like a good grip of music, but then you also have to like be outside to really understand it. Cause you can't, you have to come back in the studio like, oh nah, people ain't saying that word no more. Or like, you can't do this, you know what I'm saying? Like you have to just give people perspective. Cause when you do films, I heard Pharrell say this one time, it tripped me out. It's like, he likes doing, like music is like a collective thought. Like everybody's inspired at the same time. So if last year everybody was on drill, or in the 70s everybody's on disco, and anything can inspire music. You know what I'm saying? Like drugs inspire music. You go from psychedelics in the 60s, you're doing Puff the Magic Dragon and shit. 70s is cocaine. You know, 80s they're doing
white lines, like you said, white lines, and when he sampled white lines to do Quiet Storm.
You know what I'm saying?
And that song was about, don't do it! He talked about that shit yesterday.
90s is all niggas smoking gas, whole 90s all weed. 2010s they doing a lot of ecstasy. They
scissor.
Scissor.
Then if you do, there's a war going on, you might have what's going on. You know what I'm saying? There's a worldwide pandemic. Another song might pop up. So it's like music. You gotta be all the way in it if you really gonna be able to tell somebody anything about their music. You know what I'm saying? You kind of gotta live in it. My mentor, hip hop, he got a charge with state property, a felony. Yeah, he took a charge with him. I don't know exactly who he took the charge for, but in his A&R thing,
that was part of the job description.
Yeah. So it was crazy, and it was like at that time I think it was good because I was like 20 years old, and I was just like I still can't even legally drink, and I was just in the mix. But that your deal gave me my first taste of welcome to the music business, because then remember with the deal I cut, I was like I'm gonna be A&R, but then also I'm gonna be A&R, but also when we get distribution. So to break it down, your deal, you got signed to Hip Hop since 1978, Rock the World, which is G. Robeson and Hip Hop, Keambo Joshua's company. But I was an A&R for Fort Knox, right? So with the deal that they gave Just Blaze at the time, I think it was like, I don't put out his business, but it's a long time ago, so I guess now, I think he got like 6 beats on the project. Maybe he got like 40,000 a beat, right? So, but that's an executive producer deal. So you get beats and you get points. And then you got your deal with Atlantic through Thing, and you got your advance, and you got a publishing deal. So I remember the first time I realized something was wrong, they had like a celebration dinner for the deal. Because I remember when we got the deal, I was excited. Then they had a celebration dinner for the deal. I forgot who called me. I think you might have called me, or somebody called me, and they're like, "You're not going to the dinner?" I'm like, dinner?
What dinner?
Dinner?
Right.
I'm like, all right, whatever, you know. And then I remember I sat down, like, all right, so what we doing? We got a deal, we going. I'm sitting down with Just. He like, shit, nah, they got an executive producer deal. Like, we still don't got no overhead.
Right.
And I don't know, he might have been right. He might have been wrong.
He could have broke you off, you think?
That's how I was looking at a 20-year-old. Because, you know, I don't know much. I'm just like, hey, like, I brought it the artist. Like,
I did everything you asked me to do.
Give me something. Give me a watch. Take me out to dinner.
Right. Just give me a watch.
Or just do something. You know, I'm cutting my mixtape shit down to go do this. I'm in the studio all the time. I'm like, everything, other shit is suffering. And I was just so mad. I was just like, I was like, fuck all these niggas. That's what I was thinking.
Right.
I was just like, I'm gonna go. And I was just so heated. I've never been that mad in my life.
I remember that time,
Mhm.
and I didn't feel good about it, but I didn't know about the business either.
But it gave you that fire.
So that's why I brought the story up, is because then the thing I realized then is you just got to do a good job sometimes of life, because everybody's always watching. It's like sports. If you putting up like 20 points a game on a last place team, somebody's gonna get you out of there. Like, shit, we gonna need him. In true life, you know, shout out to True. He used to say like, oh, like shit, like they not treating you good.
Right.
Shit, come fuck with me.
Right.
And he just said like, yo, I love what you did with Sai. Like, let's rock with me. And then we sat down. He told me his plan and his game plan and what he wanted to do. I went back like maybe for like weeks at a time. It was like the winter time too, when I was staying with my homegirl at Annie's house. And I just wrote, I wrote a plan out for like a 13-page plan, like on I feel like a fucking beautiful mind. Like, here's the plan. This is how we gonna go up. And we took that little manifesto, and for 5 months we just mashed. We did a mixtape called The New York, and I was just like, fuck it, we gonna go hard. And we just went hard for like 5 months.
Right.
It's just me, True, and a bunch of fucking Puerto Ricans.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? I'm just talking about these niggas is ill. Like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? I remember, I'm gonna tell you how, like, I'm talking about everywhere he went, like 10, 20 Puerto Ricans all like locked in.
Right.
I don't know if you ever, it's a different brotherhood than there with like black gangs.
Right,
It's like family.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I
remember, like,
unity, different kind of unification.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one story. One time we was sitting there one time, I was talking about his brother, like, you know, I was like, why don't you tell Debo? He was like, me and Debo don't talk.
Oh, fuck it, yeah.
And at the time, Debo had a True Life t-shirt around his head, like going everywhere. This guy's with him every day.
Right.
He said, we and him haven't talked in 5 years. We had a fight.
But
But they together every day,
Yeah,
yeah.
together
Hey,
every
that's
day.
how it was. That's how it was.
That's just to show you the kind of shit they had going on. And
So not to cut you, right? But once you became the A&R at Atlantic, right? And
I'm gonna tell you how I got there.
Wait, we skipped a lot.
So then, you know, that's when he ended up recording that record, because he had the song already recorded, The New York. So the whole game plan became around that. I like, yo, we gonna center this. We gonna bring New York back.
But you was already A&R at Atlantic at this time.
Nah, I was in the street. Like, y'all had a deal. I was out in the cold. So like so this is the time, right? You got the deal in 2004, right? And that's when
That's not when
I ain't get hired till March 2006. There was a whole year in between it. Yeah, it was a whole year and a half in between there.
I didn't realize.
So I started going hard on True shit, and True started turning up. You know what I'm saying? And then like then a lot of artists started calling my phone, trying to get on. You know what I'm saying? Or just wanted to work with me in different ways. And I was just like,
oh shit, I never realized that.
and then because he ended up getting the deal with Rock La Familia.
Yeah.
And then from there, I got a name like, yo, around the word was going around. This guy got 2 people record deals in like 7 months. So thank God I did all that press and shit.
Right.
So they didn't pay me, but I still got the credit. And sometimes the credit, you
It's
just
worth more than the check.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? I didn't realize that. I thought you came on the Atlantic with my deal.
Oh no, it's coming there. And then so that summer, after I got True the deal, because I didn't really make a lot of money with True either, but it was kind of a little more about, it just gave me my confidence though. Because when I did it twice, I was like, oh yeah.
You was building your portfolio. You know what I mean?
Because I felt low after your deal. I was just like, damn, like I'm just discarded. You know what I mean? But after that, I was like, okay, I got talent. And at the time, I felt like I was really a manager, but no, I didn't feel like that. I didn't know what managers did. I think I was managing because the manager came on later, and they tried to offer me like a part of her like commission, and I thought it was too low. I didn't take it.
Who, Jilly?
Yeah. I didn't take the commission because I felt like it was low, but at the same time, I was happy that they offered it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was just like, all right, that's why I was never too mad. You know what I'm saying? But at that point, it was cool because then my phone started going, and the most important relationship I built at that time was with hip hop. So hip hop went and just started taking me under his wing because he was another person that's like, damn, man, y'all left him in the cold, like, nah. And he, you know, that just became my mentor. Up to this day, like, you know, I still check in with Hop about every decision.
I love him.
This is 18 years later,
Yeah,
and
I still tap in with G and Hop.
and he's like my friend. But like when we out somewhere, somebody said, "Who is this?" I'm like, "That's my mentor."
Word.
You know, I mean, I'm 38 years old. I'm gonna say that we could be 60 years old.
Straight up.
Everything about sports and hip hop.
And he taught me. He really taught me the craft of A&R. He taught me, like, gives me perspective, and you know, he was just an incredible person in my
Can you
life.
explain exactly what an A&R does to people that don't know?
An A&R at the most basic level is the liaison between the artist and the label, as far as who helps bring in the album. So the label pays an A&R to find, discover, and help artists and help them make albums, because they need singles and albums. So like, you'll go find records, go stay in the studio, and bring back an album that we think could be profitable. So you have to play like kind of like a two-way game. It's almost like you have to be like talking to the label, like, nah, we need more time, we need more money, we need to get more resources for this project. But you also have to be at the artist, like, yo, it's a deadline. We need to get that project mixed. Because if you just let an artist go all the way, you're gonna make an album for 10 years. At some point, somebody gotta be like, this shit is over.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think like playing that in between is an important role, because it's like labels, unless you're at a hip hop label or a label, whatever A&R you are, because you don't have to be just hip hop A&R. It could be a dance A&R, whatever. And a lot of times hip hop is just like a portion of the label. Gotcha. Like Atlantic Records have other stuff outside of hip hop. It's like a folder, you know? Man. So you gotta really fight for your people, and you gotta protect your artists. You know what I'm saying? You gotta protect them in different ways. You gotta make sure they're not making bad decisions. Sometimes you gotta like help them.
So it's almost like a manager in a sense, in a way.
It's like an extended manager, but like a lot of times your manager got nothing to do with the music. Gotcha. I know a lot of managers that never make it to the studio.
Right.
Gotcha.
They'll go to the studio and they just be like, that song sounds good. They don't know what's going on.
Right.
They don't have nothing to do with making
managers about bread.
About going out there and making the bread.
So from there, hip hop really brought me on this wing, and he started saying like, yo, like, I'm gonna bring you to Craig Cowman. I'm gonna bring you to Atlantic. And I mean, we never talked about it like verbatim, but I'm sure he looked at it like, oh, well, that situation was bad, but I got you. And then, you know, he always said that. And then one day we were at Fat Beats on 6th Avenue and 8th Street, and we were upstairs, and we was going for vinyl, and Craig Cowman was there like on a Saturday. And he was like, man, this is where I got to find you. Because, you know, he had a huge job. He was one of the heads of Atlantic. Yeah. And he said, oh, this is the kid I was telling you about that I wanted to bring you. And this is like February 2006. And then he said, all right, let's meet me in my office like in an hour. So we went up there and we went to his office, and he couldn't even get inside of his office because, you know, his assistant had the key, and he had no assistant on a Saturday. So we sat in front of his office. I basically told Craig Cowman the whole story I told y'all. And he was like, yo, you know, we want you here. We want you a part of the company. And I was like, all right, well, I learned, you know, after those times, I got 2 stipulations, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, what are they? And I'm like, I need a good title. He was like, how about Director of A&R? And I was like, I need an office. He's like, sure. I was like, sold. It wasn't a great negotiation, but at least have some boundaries.
Some kind of standards. Yeah, you're not gonna get me out there in the cold no more.
And so then from there, one of the first projects I got to work on was you, and that's how I came back.
Came back full circle.
So let me ask you a question. When you became the A&R at Atlantic, did they hand you projects?
They handed me projects. I signed one artist named Winter Gordon. She goes by Diana Gordon now.
Okay.
She had some good records, and she ended up writing for a lot of people. She wrote like Becky with the Good Hair. She's an incredible, super talented writer. Wow. She also wrote co-wrote Bad Habit with Steve Lacy. And her solo music's amazing. She's just
She always was dope.
She's just like, she's amazing. And for the most part, they would just try to get me to work on people. Right. You know, and I learned, but working on a major label is different. You know what I'm saying? It's not like working for like, it's like you have to learn how to do the job. You got to learn the technical side of the game, the culture of the company, and the politics. Right. And at 21 years old at the time now, and I don't know no politics or no culture, so I'm just going like I'm supposed to go. So they just throwing me projects that I'm supposed to work well at. So I got a chance to work with Little Brother. That was cool, you know what I mean? But that was a little too high level for me at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then it was like worked with you, so that was great. And it was like, but at the same time, you had your own issues at Atlantic. And then like me and Just never really got on the same page after that. You know, because like he was trying to still like little bro me. I'm like, nah, I work over here now.
Right. So pretty much you was learning on the job.
Yeah. And that's how the whole shit started going. So I was there for like 2 years, and I still got a lot of good relationships at Atlantic up to this day. But by the end, I was so frustrated with the major label system because it wasn't what I thought it was. Because now, like when I meet young A&Rs, they be having like 14 artists signed to them. I'm like, how? Like, how do you spend so much time with these people? Like back then, it was a privilege to sign one.
Right.
And then from there, that's when like the story arc starts going down. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it was like I was just like, man, I'm not. This shit's not for me, man. Like,
and so is that in 2008? You was 23, still young, still grinding. You started your own company.
before I did that, I was just like, some of the frustration, like with your project, they was like, I thought the project was great. We got
it was phenomenal. We had Jay-Z on the record. Jay-Z.
We had Jay-Z on the song. Yeah, Come On Baby. That was the record that we needed. I thought like we had everything we needed to do. And it was just like, they were like a singles driven company. Like you need a single.
Right.
So like they put Trey Songz on the first single, to Pain in My Life or whatever. That was like the compromise song. It was a great song, but it was still a compromise compared to what the pure shit we had on there. And it was just like, I just couldn't get in the rhythm over there. So I was like, I'm gonna do it a different way. I'm gonna go start an artist development company. And it was like Jerry Maguire. I just went, got a bunch of interns, people in line, and I started a company called The Famous Firm. I went into Craig, and I went and resigned. Joey Manda was there, Joey IE. I told him, like, yo, I'm about to go resign right now. He said, no, you're not.
He didn't believe it, yeah.
I walked right in there, and I felt like they were trying to fire me anyway, but I didn't know that at the time. And I was like, man, this is not for me. I'm not like the person that's going to be sitting here just like taking a check. If this is not going to work, I'm just going to do something else. And they were like, fuck it, all right. And me and Craig still cool up to this day based on that conversation.
So with The Famous Firm, you managed Nicki Minaj early in her career.
But let me ask you this question. What was your goal in starting the Famous Firm?
I just wanted to really bring back like artist development, you know what I'm saying? Because it was like, oh, I see this as like a lack in the game. Like I didn't like what was happening to like Psy and to these projects. And I just didn't like how shit could just get held up. So I was like, all right, let's go start. Like I wrote like a whole manifesto. I posted it like on my blog spot. You know what I'm saying? I just ended up getting people, and people read my manifesto and started reaching out to me. I got like 500 emails of people like showing support. Cause I still had like a little profile based on the mixtapes that mixed on like the press I was getting a couple of years before.
Right.
So people started following me, and then it started going. That's why I said it's go like, it's just like producing. You know, you might be like on a ASR, and then you might be on Fruity Loops. And then I went from being on like Napster to then being on MySpace. So my MySpace top 16 were all like the people who were working with the company. And those are like a bunch of great people.
Top 16.
A lot of people who the reps that we have, a lot of people end up doing really great things. You know what I'm saying? You know, Hovain got arrested dead.
God bless Hovain. That's what I was gonna bring up too, because I know he was a part of The Famous Firm at one point, right?
He was the backbone. Like he was really like you know, I met him through Troy Ave.
Yeah.
And
I remember working with Troy Ave.
And we just hit it off automatically. And he was just always like a sponge learning the game. And he would also like give me some real support. And I'm gonna tell you more about him later. My boy Josh Pease, he started a company called Peas and Carrots after he has Casey Veggies as an artist. He now is like one of the top executives in Amazon.
Oh wow.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people left that and did a lot of great things. And then one of the first moves we did was I saw Nicki Minaj on the Come Up DVD, on Fendi's DVD, and I had a great relationship with Fendi off the mixtape game. Like I would always play Gravy on my tapes, and it was just like, you know, Fendi was just always mad funny and cool. And I was like, yo, I want to work with Nicki, I want to work with her. And you're like, all right. And a lot of people were trying to work with her at the time. So I met with her, and she liked me. She was Trinidadian, I was Trinidadian, and then we kind of hit it off, and I was just like, all right, let me just try to hustle. But Nicki always had like a great vision for herself. She knew she was going to be on this level back then.
Right.
And I think sometimes when you have a manager, they either have to see your vision and follow your vision 100%, or they have to give you like a roadmap to get where you're going to get there. But
she had her own vision.
Oh yeah, she knew. And she was like hard. And she had like a crazy mouth on her. She still does.
Yeah.
But you know, she knows where she was going to go. So I was just like, I was doing too much. Like I was trying to, like you said, like what was the company's goal? I should have asked myself that, because it was like I have consulting clients. I'm trying to manage artists. I'm trying to be a label. And like, if I could do it again, if I could go back in the past, I'm like, yo, just focus on her.
Right.
Put all the resources on that girl. Because then what happened one day, I'm like in Maryland.
Were you, not to cut, were you managing Troy Ave back then? Because I remember.
Hovain managed them.
Oh, Hovain
managed
them.
Yeah. I was just like, we just became cool through being from the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know,
I remember
because he's from like Troy Ave.
Troy Ave, yeah.
And Hov is from Brownsville.
Gotcha.
And so like, it was just like one day, she had the biggest thing at the time, she had this Vibe magazine shoot. You know, it was like a 2-page spread. And
Nicki Minaj?
And she had a diner, and she got to the place, and I wasn't there. and she didn't have no trailer. She had to change in the bathroom. So she called me like flipping out, and as she should. And then I was just like, you know how I was back then.
Man,
I was cocky.
Yeah, cocky.
So I was like, man,
who needs you?
Yeah, I was like, man, like, you know, I don't need all this, man. Just don't worry about it. You can find your own manager. So she calls me back. She gave me an opportunity. She like, are you sure? Like, you sure you know what you're doing? You saying?
Right.
I'm like, yeah, man. My own mother don't talk to me like this. I'm not gonna let nobody talk to me like this.
Right.
So we handled the business. It was like a little bit of money, whatever. We cleaned that up. Next thing I know, super bass. And I was just like, God damn.
Yeah, #1 female artist ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like, and that time, like, you know, this is like when the lack of structure starts falling apart. That's why having a strong team is good, because it's like my company started falling apart, Nicki blowing up, and it was just everything wasn't just going the right direction. I was in a bad relationship, and it was just like, I just feel like, oh shit, the mixtapes thing was kind of like passing me by. So like, you know, because it wasn't when the game was what it was. You know, people are transitioning more to digital and different things. Drama and Cannon just got locked up. It was just like, oh man, this shit.
Damn, I remember that. It's so crazy because I remember all of that stuff. It's like it was yesterday, because obviously I was close to this situation because of you. But it was like, damn, I'm like Sickamore, because my situation in Atlanta got bad. Then I was going through personal shit in my life, so I hated. I had my taste for the music business was so bad to one point. I was just like, I'm going back to the street. I'd rather be in the street than this shit. But then I'm watching you at the same time, and then I find out, damn, Sycamore's doing this. I didn't know if he was managing Troy at the time. I knew he was working with Nicki, and then I remember the famous firm, and then next thing you know, the YG situation.
Well, it was a long time before that, because now we in 2009.
Yeah.
So there's no Atlantic, there's no Saigon, there's no nothing going on. Everybody, you know, True chilling, he got deals, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You somewhere spending money. I'm like, man, I was just like trying to figure it out. And it was like, at the bottom of it, I remember I was my girl at the time. She like, we was at Barnes and Nobles, and you know, I always like books. So, but I ain't have no money. I might have had like $80 to my name. And, you know, she had her dad's like Platinum Amex. So I'm like, yo, can you give me these books? You know what I mean? It was like $80 or whatever. I don't know how much the books was, probably like $100 worth of books. He's like, man, you don't need no books. You got a lot of books at home already. And I was just like, man, I feel like a failure. Like this is not me. You know, from everything I tell you the story, I'm not asking some girl for books. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, and we in like Jersey, Lyndhurst, New Jersey in her crib. And I was just like, I got to change my life. This is going downhill fast. I don't know how it got that bad. So then the next day I took the Metro North to the city, and I went to like a park bench like in Chinatown. And I sat there for like an hour, and I just wrote out a whole plan. And I was just like, yo, I'm gonna start like an artist development company. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna just stick with this A&R shit. I'm gonna stop doing so much. I'm just gonna stay focused on what I gotta stay focused on. And I wrote everybody who like was in my life that really like stuck with me at the time, and I folded a piece of paper. I just put it in my pocket, and I just kept that shit in my pocket for 5 years. And my whole life changed at that point. It's just like, I think I had like $80 in my pocket. I think I got like, bought like a notebook and 2 pens, so I had like $60 left. And shit just started going up. And, you know, I was just in hip-hop crib, just writing out plans, like writing all the bloggers out, all the blog rappers out. This is like the time of like Mickey Fax, Currency was doing the blog thing. Who was it? Charles Hamilton. It was like a wild, wild west. Like shit was going on over there, and people were like, what's going on? But also people in that world was like Drake, Kid Cudi, A$AP Rocky. If you was Diamonds in there too. Yeah. So I came up with this idea to do these shows, and I was gonna call it the Famous Factory. And Hop thought it was a good idea, and I talked to hip hop. I talked to Hov about it, Hovain, and he like, yo, let's do it. And me and Hov just started thugging. I got like some money. I was managing Ricky Hill at the time. I started putting him in all the shows, and we started, you know, Hov started booking crazy talent. He like, yo, we got Nip, we got Currency, like, you know, and then it just started getting me back in the loop. You know, we had Dom Kennedy at those shows, Nipsey Hussle, Sean Price, rest in peace, Joel Ortiz, and it was just these monthly shows in Williamsburg, and it was like a crazy thing because hip hop wasn't in Williamsburg at the time. It was more like rock. Just like 2010, I dumped a girl, then and then it was kind of like back on my feet. And you know, Hov is just like, he really like got with me at like my worst moment. You know what I'm saying? Where like, you know, it's not you know how this game is, like your phone stopped ringing.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And just like everything just the breaks just seem like it's going not your way. And it's like you really remember every dollar and every person who's in your life at that time. When shit's going crazy, everybody around, everybody offering you money and whatever. But like when shit not going right, you really see who your real people are, because they got no benefit to be with you at that point. You know what I'm saying? And you know, we started rocking and rolling just slowly but surely. Like I had the relationship with Double XL. Shout out to Leah Rose. She went and
Shout out to Leah Rose.
You know what I mean? Elliot Wilson, they gave me like a little blog thing. The blog thing wasn't paid, but it was exposure. And I just started working my way back up. Then I got my guy deal at Warner Brothers. Hov was managing him. You know what I mean?
Who's that?
Rich Hill. It's Tommy Hilfiger's son.
Yeah, Tommy Hilfiger. I remember that.
He's dope as fuck, man. But like people would hate on him because he was Tommy Hilfiger's son.
Yeah, but he's privileged. Yeah, they looked at him like he's privileged.
But he's making like sad, dark music.
Yeah,
like depressed music.
Joe, I remember all of that shit.